The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello and welcome to the Hoop Ball NBA DFS Today podcast. I am affectionately known as Coach. My name is Joe Sarabati, and I'm joined with the person affectionately known as DFS Shark, which would be Mike Apotria. How are you tonight, Mr. Mike?
I'm doing swell, actually. I mean, I had my hometown league. Anybody that's heard me clamor about it last year knows how important this league is to me. So I got that in the books. I had the eighth overall pick, coach. I love my team, and I left
Good.
there. I left there feeling like a shark, man. I felt like I took advantage of these guys that I do it with every year. But I also could tell that some guys are listening to me because whether it's
Uh-oh.
or reading my stuff because I got snaked a few times.
Who did you end up getting eighth?
Eighth overall, so it's a head-to-head league. I kind of went for a little reach, and not really a reach. I took Drummond, basically between
Wow.
Drummond, Lillard, and Kawhi at that spot. But I knew I wasn't going to take anybody else to really harm my free throw going forward, so I'd still be able to combat that on top of just his elite production and just rebounding, good steals, good blocks, elite field goal, very very good base. I didn't have to take another big for a little while, and then I think after that I followed it with Trey Young. Third pick,
Nice.
and this is where I just started taking advantage. It was just these. I don't know if some of them didn't know how to draft. I know one of the guys in there actually writes for us over here at Hoop Ball. His name's Santino Cocone, good buddy of
Oh,
mine.
Santino is an
Yeah,
awesome guy at judging teams. I've been sending everybody over on our forums because I love the breakdown he does of people's squads. He does a
yeah, he
nice,
knows his
nice.
stuff. He's the one
Yeah,
guy that's always my competition in these leagues for our hometown. We grew up with each other, so
nice.
he.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
same. Yeah, I think he's a year younger than me. Same town, same high school. We've been good buddies since we were probably about 10 years old or so. So,
Wow.
yeah, he was looking for a place to write, and I told him I was like, come on over. We're looking
He's
for him.
really he's really good. He really is. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, we started our 40th season draft online, and we're through two rounds so far. And I had the fifth pick this year, and I was able to get Curry fifth. And then somehow, some way, dude, you never believe it. On the way back, I got Joel Embiid.
Oh, that's a steal. So
I couldn't believe it.
I was actually hoping he would fall to me, and I would just go double big and just take Embiid and Drummond and just sit back and then not
Yeah,
have to take another big for a while. He went obviously. I mean, he should at least by the turns, on the way back or on the way there. He should always be going in that spot. But I ended up, like I said, taking Trey Young. I had the choice of Westbrook or Young. I went Young just so I can help combat that free throw percentage I was talking about.
he's
Trey
a
Young,
monster.
elite,
Yeah.
elite, and just the upside that he's going to possess. I get great threes, great assists. Doesn't really hurt you anywhere. So I like that. And like I said, I ended up taking a few guys that shouldn't have been there. I think I got Drew Holiday in the third, and then I think Conley was there in the fourth, John Collins in the fifth, Valanciunas
Great.
in the sixth. So
Wow, the Collins that late is ridiculous.
yeah, I didn't think he was going to be either. I ended up grabbing guys, a couple guys I was looking forward to this year, like Thomas Bryant, Tomas Satoransky, a few other names in there too. But
Very
overall,
nice.
I think I left feeling good, Coach. But it's not about our year-long fantasy teams. I know we already, if people wanted to hear that, they'd be going to listen to Dan. So
Exactly, exactly. We are DFS. We only care about right now, today. We live in 1 day segments in this DFS world. So it's exciting. I got to do my first show with Andrew yesterday, and but what a great addition he is for the third guy. And I thought he did a terrific job. So I'm excited to have him on the team for sure.
yeah, definitely. And let's just give him a quick shout out. Go follow him if you're not already. At Language Olympic. I mean, you can't forget that. It's like a very
No.
unique name. So give him a
Yeah.
nice follow if you haven't already.
We have to find out the story behind that at some point. There's got to be some reasoning. So we'll have to dig in on that at some point. But we're coming to you. It is Sunday night. We always record the show the night before the slate. Tomorrow's slate is for Monday, October 14th. It's a nice, healthy 6-game slate, and so we're going to dive right in. Right before we get started here, our presenting sponsor is Fantasy Draft, so we'd like to give them a monster shout out. Did you play the Hooters $500,000?
Yeah. So I was crazy busy this morning. So generally I'd put in 2 or 3. When I was really hot, I was putting in 4, and then I told you I lost last week, so I kind of toned it back. But I didn't have enough time to really dive into it and really invest myself up until lock. So I did the smart thing, and I played one lineup and just kind of did a shell. And if it was one of those things where if I probably put in 3 or 4, I would have had one that cashed very high because I had a lot of the nuts guys in it. I just slipped up on 1 or 2 spots, so. It is what it is. I donated this week, and I'm okay with it because I know I got the start of the regular season approaching, and that's kind of where I'm gearing towards now. I'm pretty much done with the football. Once
next Sunday
starts, it's done.
Next Sunday is the last football week with no basketball, so that'll be we'll be going a different direction. But we encourage all of our listeners to continue to go to fantasydraft.com, sign up with the promo code HoopBall. All one word, HOOPBALL, and get your 7-day free trial, up to $1,000 in contests. And they're going to go live a week from Tuesday with NBA. So we'll be all over that because I love playing on Fantasy Draft because they're more positionless and you can play 3-4 centers if you want. You can pile up guys in different positions. It's awesome. But
centers. That's I love my centers coach. So
that's for sure.
I'm looking forward to that.
No doubt. So we thank Fantasy Draft and Hoopball, and we're excited to just jump right into the slate today. I'll tell you, I'm a little tired today. There was a double slate with an early and later slate being a Sunday, and there were just a massive amount of scratches. So. I want to make sure everybody knows, we're doing this show. We're going through all of our choices and discussions and breaking it down, but you have to stay up to speed on all of the late changes because we have only 5 more days of games. We have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and that's it. Preseason is over. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday's a 3-day break, and then boom, Tuesday we're in. So there's going to be a ton of changes in these last 5 days. Scratches, guys sitting, guys playing limited minutes, people coming back from injury and then there's going to be some dress rehearsals in here where guys are going to play 30 minutes. So stay up to date with us constantly on Twitter. At Hoopball Fantasy is where you want to get all of our Hoopball teams back there with blurbs and everything, constant updates. I'm at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. He's at Mike Apotria, MikeApotria, and then Andrew's at Language Olympics. So stay up with those. I want to read that sort of warning first because there were a lot of guys I noticed that didn't pay attention today. There were 8% owned Giannis and all these guys that didn't get in. And man, you can make a difference. It's the reason I won a bunch of my 50-50s is because people took zeros. And even guys I had a horrific performance from Colin Sexton. Did you happen to see any of that Cleveland game?
7 turnovers. I saw that.
Oh my God.
That's unbearable.
He had a complete meltdown. He had 7 turnovers in the first half, and he was 0 from everything. I just complete meltdown. So
there's a reason they drafted Garland.
I only got 7.5 fantasy points from him, and still was able to hang in there in the 50-50s because, like I say, a lot of guys took zeros. So stay up on it, especially in this slate, where there's 5-6 games every day this week. All right, first game, Atlanta Hawks. I'll dive in. They're playing the Miami Heat. That's the first game that locks, and it's a 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central lock tomorrow, which is if you're listening this tomorrow, will be on Monday. And the Atlanta Hawks have Herter and Crab are out from what I have listed, and Evan Turner is a game time decision, very questionable. I know I've gone to the Trae Young well a million times. I think because it's Miami, Miami's pace is a little slower. They defend well. Their team defense is solid. I think most of their guys are going to play and be in their rotation. So I think I'm going to actually pass on Trae for the first time. I'm going to look more towards John Collins. He's played somewhat minimal minutes. I just like his matchup against the Heat better than Trae's tomorrow. And I think I'm going to fire up some John Collins, but that's the only interest I have in Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean it's really tough for them just because, like you said, the pace down spot and the Heat, they're good on defense. They're going to be good on defense. I know there's a lot of new names kind of on that team, but bringing in Butler, Bam's defense is rock solid. Myers Leonard, a big body, so that's going to be the matchup that Collins is facing. And he's not necessarily known for his defense, but he's a big guy. It's going to cause some problems, especially when behind him's Bam. So it's going to, he's going to have to stretch him. And if that's the case, he's going to be shooting a little bit more. So I'm okay with John Collins. I wouldn't mind if you didn't want to play really anybody on Atlanta. Where I would take advantage would be on the other side of the ball, and this is the team facing Atlanta. That way they get that uptick in pace. But yeah, John Collins I'm okay with. And, I wouldn't knock you if you want to play Trae Young. I'm not going to just take him out of my player pool. He's a guy that can just get hot very quickly. And if, John Collins is finishing at the rim a lot, let's say, and having a good game, there's going to be a few Trae Young assists that are coming along with it.
No doubt. So you're more going to pass this game then?
Yeah,
in general?
Yeah, I mean, we have 6 games on the slate tonight. There's going to be a few later on in the night that are going to be some pretty high-tempo games, and one right in the middle that I have interest in. So there's 3 games that I'm going to put a lot of my attention into, and then 2 guys or 2 teams, I guess you could say, from another game that are going to have a little bit of my interest. But this game's not really doing too much for me overall.
Okay. All right, let's jump over the other side of the ball, the Miami Heat. The only guy I have listed right now as out for sure is Kelly Olynyk. There's a lot of game time decision guys on this team, and the Heat is very famous for resting guys a lot in the preseason. So that scares me big time. I'm personally going to go back to the Bam Adebayo mix here. I think that the 20-minute runs that he's been getting, he's been so incredibly effective. And Atlanta on the other side of the ball, Len's been out. They've been a little short at the big spot. I think Collins is more playing the 4 and going to be matching up, I believe, against more of a Derrick Jones Jr. or Myers Leonard or whoever else is in there alongside of Bam. So I'm gonna counter the Collins with the Bam move, and then right now they're trying to figure out the whole Winslow Wood position. Dragic is playing a little bit. Waiters is having a good spring. Butler obviously playing well, and the emergence of Tyler Hero and some of their other players is just too deep for me. So I'm gonna focus on Bam in this game and go from there.
Bam's always a great call. He's somebody I just mentioned a few minutes ago off air. I'm really looking forward to the season that he's going to have this year. I think it's going to be obviously a career year with the new opportunity he has. But I know that there was an update on Deion Waiters that he was actually away from the team for personal reasons. So there's a chance that he doesn't play. I would almost kind of project him not playing unless we hear anything differently.
Okay.
That's just kind of going to be my approach. That we are looking at this the day before. So like you said earlier in the show, keep monitoring that. But I think that's going to, if he does sit, I think I'm going to be looking at Tyler Hero again. He just feels like one of the guys that I could feel more confident with his minutes in this starting lineup. I'm not going to go and try to force Tyler Hero in any of my lineups. But I'm with you on Bam. And if there was somebody else I was going to play from this game, it would probably be Hero.
I like it. I've been big on him all preseason for sure. All right, we move on to game two, and it's the Charlotte Hornets against the Memphis Grizz. And you want to jump in there and take Charlotte?
Yeah, sure. For me, it's pretty simple here. It's Terry Rozier, it's PJ Washington, it's Miles Bridges. That's it. I have decent interest in all three of them. Not going to go overboard on any of them just because we know that Memphis does have a pretty solid front court. They're young, but those guys are athletic, being Jaren Jackson and Clark. So it can go either way with this game, but I think those are the only three guys that I would have any interest on in the Hornets.
I think that makes sense. And, I've noticed, I think I've taken Rozier pretty much every preseason game Charlotte's played and usually bumpered him in there with another guy on the squad, either a Bacon or Bridges or one of those guys. But I think I'm probably going to go solo with Rozier because we have such, a much bigger slate and a lot of guys to choose from. But, you got to look for the guys like Rozier that are getting deeper runs in these games. He was actually in the game, through the first 3 minutes of the fourth quarter, the last time through. So, the continuity and the rhythm they're trying to build within that team, he is definitely a guy that I'm going to go to. I like this matchup. Now, again, Memphis, everybody always associates with slow. And it's not going to be that anymore. It's, Memphis is going to be go, go, go. So I think it may even be a pace up game for both of these teams. And, for that reason, I'm going Terry Rozier.
I mean, yeah, he's also going to get a matchup against a rookie who's a little bit undersized. So it's if anybody has a good matchup or the best matchup on the court for them, I would assume it's him. And if we, I think we could jump right over to Memphis, and this is a team that I'm pretty excited about going into the regular season. I'm going to be playing a lot of shares of Memphis this year. We kind of already know that Jonas Valanciunas is going to be held out for, it looks like, the rest of the preseason for them.
Correct.
He's been dealing with a sore foot, so that's something that they don't want to risk. I mean, it might not be a big deal at all, but he's a guy that he's had injury history in the past. He's never really eclipsed that 27-minute mark until he came over here to Memphis. So looks like they're just going to take it easy. But for me, that opens up a lot of value when Jonas is sitting. And it goes to Bruno Caboclo. It goes to, guys like Jaren Jackson Jr. And, of course, just mentioned it, the rookie.
Brandon Clark.
Yeah, I'm expecting, big games from 2 out of the 3 of these guys. Bruno's been flashing, and Bruno looks like he's kind of playing for that rotation spot. He's playing for his minutes right now. Clark, we already kind of know he's going to be in the fold, but he's a little bit raw as well. So I would probably lean more towards those guys just because, we don't know the minute scenario. We don't know exactly what they're going to get, but I can pretty much feel confident that those guys are going to hit near the 20 mark, if not over it.
I like it. For me, I'm looking at firing up 2 rookies here. I like Ja Morant and I like Brandon Clark. I think, it's starting to become evident that Clark is going to make this team and be in the rotation now that Joe Val is questionable to start out. I think Clark's earned it. And I think that, again, the young talent trying to get rhythm, trying to get into the system, makes me very interested at really good pricing for both Ja and Brandon Clark. So I'm going to try to fit both of them in. I may use just Ja in cash and then use both of them in a GPP.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a good call. Morant is a guy that can explode. We know the kind of upside that he possesses, number 2 overall pick in the draft. So he can produce with his assists. We've seen him get up there with high assist games, and he always looks for his own shot as well. So, and Rozier is not necessarily known for his defensive prowess. So
not at all. I think they'll run back and forth each other like crazy. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, I do like the Grizzlies side of the ball a lot more, and they're one of the teams I mentioned. This isn't a game I'm all over, but I'll be all over the Grizzlies in this one. Charlotte, like I said, they have a few defensive matchups that are going to be tough for them. Rozier is going to be able to take advantage of his, I think, on Ja. But other than that, I think that it's going to be tough for them to match up with the other guys. So I don't see them scoring a whole bunch of points in this game, and we kind of seen it evident in preseason games prior to this one, that they're going to struggle to put points up in general.
I'm with you, man. All right, we're on to game 3. We'll get through half the slate here. Oklahoma City at Dallas. Oklahoma City out already is Chris Paul and Steven Adams. So those guys are sitting, and I'll tell you what, I read another report today where they're truthfully actively already shopping Paul, Adams, and Gallinari. So good Lord, interesting to see what's remaining once this team really gets going. But with those guys out, I think a lot of ownership's going to go to Shea. I mean, he's also Schroeder is questionable. So, with Paul and Schroeder being questionable, I think, Shea's got to be a monster play. Even though he's going to be chalk and high owned, I'm certainly going to use him in some lineups. He just shows so much leadership out there for such a young guy. I'm excited to plug him in. And then I'm going to go one of the contrarian plays I'm going to use with Gallinari questionable, Adams out, Noel's, they're protecting his minutes a little bit. I sort of like Darius Baisley. He's been getting some minutes off their bench. I think they're trying to determine if he's going to be one of their guys of the future that they can count on in their rotation, and determining, exactly what role he's going to play, whether it be, the two-way contract, etc. So sort of an odd one, but I think this is the time of the preseason where it doesn't hurt to throw a 1% contrarian guy in there, like, my man TJ or Tyler Johnson came through big for me the other night, and so I'm hoping Baisley can fill that role, and then Shea obviously is going to be a major play for me.
Yeah, and I'm glad you touched on Noel because he is nursing what looks to be like a shoulder injury. They said it's not serious, and he's expected to be available. He's questionable now, but they're expecting him to be available. Doesn't mean that they're expecting him to play 30 minutes or anything like that. So he sat out the last game.
Yeah.
So this is something where even if he is available, he's still going to be in my player pool because we know what the kind of upside he has. If we get better wind of knowing that he's playing at least 18 to 22 minutes, I think he's definitely in play. But I think other than that, I'm going to be with just Shea. Those two guys, I feel like, are the two that I have confident in their point per minute ability. And if I think Shea is pretty much a lock for some decent minutes. It's just how much minutes would Noel play?
No doubt about it. All right, on the Dallas side of the ball, they have two guys. Finney Smith is ruled out for sure. He is not playing. Dwight Powell is also another one of those guys that is going to be sat through the entire preseason. So he is out. And also Jalen Brunson was announced out. So, there a few guys sitting. The Luka Porzingis scenario. Luka obviously is paid off monster in his last two outings. I just, from watching Carlisle all these years, I just am so in fear that Luka only plays, 15, 18 minutes. So I'm not going to put Luka in there, even though he just looks phenomenal right now. I'm probably going to go back to the Kristaps well again, because he didn't play a ton the last game. And he is healthy, he is feeling good, and I think he can smash in 20 to 22 minutes. After that, I'm not going anywhere here. Dallas has a ton of depth in the other positions. Bray is back, DeLon Wright's trying to fit in, Curry, all these guys, and it's too much of a crapshoot, even with Maxey and Boban and everybody else. So I'm going to find a little Kristaps love tomorrow, and that's going to be it for me for Dallas.
I'm with you on the Doncic. I mean, yeah, you're got to be a little scared about the minutes eventually if they end up getting cut a little bit, but it's kind of hard to fade him at this point. He's just looks phenomenal. He's shooting a ton. He's doing a little bit of everything, and if he's playing, 20 to 25 minutes, you got to plug him in at that point. So
It's hard not to, but I mean, he is gonna probably be one of the top 2 or 3 owned guys on the slate.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's kind of that thing where, yes, if I'm playing 10 lineups, I'm going to have shares of them. I'd probably have them in about 5 out of my 10 if I did. I do have confidence in him. Another guy is I do have interest in Kleber. I know you kind of said that you're not really looking at him, but he's been playing great this preseason. We know that there's no Powell. We know that there's no Finney Smith. He's going to have to get run at the 4 and the 5. So I'm expecting probably about 25 minutes, 24 minutes from him. If not, it could be even a little bit more. He's one of their main bigs. He's going to be in the rotation. So he's a guy that I have interest in. And I'm waiting for a big DeLon Wright game. So, I mean, if you're gonna pivot off Doncic, it maybe makes sense in GPPs, not in cash games, not in your 50-50 or heads up, maybe to take a stab at DeLon Wright. He's got massive upside always. He can produce in multiple ways. And this is kind of going to be a good matchup for him. This should be a pretty up-tempo game.
I wish I could say, I agreed with that one, but I've watched every minute of the Mavs preseason, and to me, he looks just horrific offensively. I mean, he's totally out of sync. His shot looks bad. I'm really concerned because that could be a big punch in the gut for the Mavs if he doesn't get it going. So I'm monster fade on DeLon and until I see just a sign of some type of offensive skill. But that's pretty much it for me for the Mavs. Anything else Mavs wise?
Nah, that's it. Stay away from the bench other than those guys,
Yeah, too deep. Who knows what's going to happen there? Hardaway had a big game last game, but you can't count on any of that stuff. There's no way. All right, halfway through. We're motoring along at a little bit better pace. We're consciously trying to pick up the pace as we start getting more and more games because it's going to get a little bit nutsy next week when we have 10, 12 game slates to get through, and we want to make sure to touch on all of them. So just briefly again, as at the halfway point, we thank our presenting sponsor, Fantasy Draft. Jump on there. FantasyDraft.com, Hoopball's the promo code. Support them. You can find us 7 days a week. Without question, in my opinion, we have the best free DFS daily content in the industry. We're just getting massive amounts of followers, so we thank you for that. Jump on. We're finding a lot of people hitting us up on iTunes, a bunch on YouTube. Please take the time when you catch our pods, to give us a quick rate, review, subscribe, 5 stars, thumbs up, some likes. Those mean a lot for our sponsors. And if it wasn't for Fantasy Draft and for Hoopball, we wouldn't be able to bring this free content to you. I listen to a lot of these shows, some of them behind pretty expensive paywalls, and believe me, what we're bringing you is all of that and then some, and so we want to keep being able to do that. And you can find us every day, as like I said, on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean, iHeart, Spotify, YouTube, everywhere podcasts are found. So jump on, stay with us. We're getting ready for this, a week from Tuesday. We've got 5 more days of preseason, and then we get real, my man.
We start rolling.
We do.
I can't wait, man. I can't wait.
So game 4, Sacramento Kings, Utah Jazz. Sacramento has 4 guys out already, so that's interesting. Ariza, Ulis, Joseph, and Giles have all been ruled out. So would you like to take the Kings, sir?
Yeah. So, I mean, we know the big names, obviously, with, Hield, Fox, and Bagley. Those guys are always in play. I don't think too many people need to tell them that. It is a tough matchup against Utah. So if you wanted to, penny pinch and, Fox has a tough matchup with Conley. Bagley might see some time down low against Gobert. But Buddy Hield should still be able to run wild if he wants. So I still think all those guys are in play. But I'm actually I have some interest in the Serbian, Bogdanovic. With Trevor Ariza out and Corey Joseph out, he should have free reign of a lot of those bench minutes, playing some backup at the 3 and the 2. So I kind of have some interest in him, and he's actually going to be one of my favorite tournament plays on the night.
Outstanding. Good call. This is going to shock you, but I'm actually passing on Sacramento. I'm in Utah against Utah's defense even with all those guys out. I just watched a ton of Yogi Ferrell and all these guys, Rashawn Holmes, everybody sort of getting minutes. So I'm going to be fast, simple, and easy, and I am going to pass this Sacramento game for this evening. And that'll take us over to Utah. Utah has 2 guys listed out as of now, Exum and Moutier. I think I'm expecting with Sacramento's, pace that it's going to really help Utah. Their last game was extremely dismal. Nobody did a whole lot of anything. It was a really bad fantasy game. But I see an uptick here. I think, in front of that Utah crowd, they sell out games even in the preseason. And I think they want to really start getting some continuity together, which, it seems like they've had a real choppy amount of minutes thus far. So I'm thinking about rolling up some Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. Those 2 guys are both on my list. Gobert is still pretty fresh. He had sat out the game before last. Mitchell hasn't been pushed hard, coming off the Team USA FIBA thing. I think Coach Snyder has been pretty easy with him. But I think he'll get some shots up against the Sacramento team. They don't guard shooting guards very well. So for me, it's Mitchell and Gobert, and I definitely have interest in the Jazz side.
I mean, shooting guards against Sacramento has been a thing for us DFS players for probably about 2-3 years now. And it should continue to be. So yeah, for me, it's basically just those 2 guys, Mitchell, Gobert. We just know what kind of upside they both have. I'm not ready to kind of pull the trigger on Conley, and it's preseason. We're not necessarily focused on price as much, but sometimes when you're tinkering with your lineup and it comes down to it, extra couple $100 might matter. And only being 500, less than Mitchell, I just don't want to pay for that just yet. I would expect that maybe we see something from either Eagles or Bogdanovic, a decent game from one of those 2. But I'm not going to sit there, especially, you're a cash game player. When it comes to trying to guess which guy's going to have the good game, I'd rather just fade both of them. So I'm with you. Just the 2 big names, Mitchell, Gobert, and I'll find some spots in other games.
Beautiful. All right. We're on the same page there for sure. All right. We go to the game 5, the Denver Nuggets at my coach's favorite Phoenix Suns preseason squad. And for Denver, very, very questionable are Malik Beasley and Paul Millsap. They're not both ruled out yet, but I don't think either one of them is going to play personally from what I read. So I'll let you do the Nuggets so that I can take coach's Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, I mean, I was on Jokic the other night. He didn't kind of give me the game I wanted. It's just for these starters, there's no real reason for any of them to get a ton of minutes with this team being as deep as it is. So I think most of my targets for the Nuggets might be coming from the bench, whether it's Monte Morris or Jeremy Grant. Just knowing that Grant would probably see a few more minutes if Millsap sits. And then, Michael Porter Jr. should be getting a little bit more of an extended run if we see Millsap sit as well, but I'm not quite ready just to pull the trigger on Porter Jr. just yet.
Hey, well, the Nuggets are really a sore spot for me because there's been 9 preseason days so far. I've had 8 winning days and 1 losing day. And my losing day was because I took Jokic as my main play, and he didn't do much of anything. And then somehow, some way, I had plugged Torrey Craig in there, and he didn't play. He's been my only goose egg of the preseason. So I am just hating on the Nuggets right now. I am mad. I am not a happy camper. So I don't know. It's with those two guys, if they don't play, they're still so deep. Denver, and we said it last time too, and I still fell into the trap is they have a good 10, 11 man solid rotation. So, it's nice to have 6 games on the slate so that this will be the second team that I can just out of bitterness and the fact that I don't like the depth of this team to know who to count on. I'm passing on the Nuggets. Hell with them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I just don't feel confident in any of their starters playing big minutes. There's just no point for it. They don't need to. They're also playing the Phoenix Suns on top of it. So I'm with you. Like I said, though, I do have some small interest in a couple of those guys coming off the bench. Grant probably being my favorite.
Excellent. And then, of course, I'm going to continue to ride this money train because they've made a lot of money for me in the preseason. I am going to play a combination of 3 different Suns, or actually 4 different Suns. 2 in one lineup, 2 in another, and flip around a few of them. But they sat most of their guys last game. The only 2 that are listed as out right now are Dario Saric and my man Tyler Johnson. He got hurt toward the end of that last game. So those 2 guys are out. The other guys that sat, Rubio, Booker, and Ayton the last game, all 3 are in play for me, for sure. And Kelly Oubre looked like a stud. I know that he was the best player on the floor because all these guys sat out, but I just loved the way he sort of had that Julius Randle attitude watching the game. Like he wanted every shot, he wanted every ball. And that excited me. So, Phoenix again, 5-star team for me. I'm going to have some rotation of Rubio, Booker, Oubre, and Ayton in my lineups, not stacking all 4 of them by any stretch. I'll be using 2 in one cash lineup and 2 in another cash lineup, and may roll 3 in a GPP.
I'm with you with the top dogs with Booker and Ayton. I do have some interest in Oubre. I'm not going to really touch Ricky Rubio. I think we kind of hinted at it a little bit before in a couple other shows where for him to really get to his fantasy ceiling, he needs to hit that 30-minute threshold, and that's just not going to happen. Not after the FIBA he had. It's preseason. There's really no reason. I think he's been averaging just about 20 minutes per game in the first 2, so I'm okay with just not dealing with him. I think we have enough guards and point guards to go in different spots. So I think for me it's Oubre, and Booker, and I do have some slight interest in Javon Carter. He's just been playing very well during the preseason, and I'm just expecting, like I said, Rubio to only play 20. Tyler Johnson's out, so he should pretty much be guaranteed his 18 to 24 minutes.
All right, man. All right, we're good there. We go to Game 6 on record pace. We're kicking ass and taking names tonight. All right, the Golden State Warriors at Los Angeles Lakers. And right now, the only 2 outs I have for Golden State are Looney and Burks. And Burks is not 100% out. Looney is. So and I guess Cauley Stein, I think, is still out. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's going to be missing some time. He's not going to be ready for the start of the season.
All right, man. Who do you got on the Warriors?
Well, we already got confirmation that Marquise Chris will be the starting center, I believe. So I definitely think we have to think about that. He's actually been playing very well this preseason.
He has.
Yeah.
He's been a big surprise.
And it's actually going to be a fairly tough matchup for him going against JaVale McGee. That's who I'm expecting to be starting on the other side. So I will have some interest in him. He's probably going to be fairly chalky. He is pretty cheap, and everybody else, this news has got released earlier today, or might even been yesterday. So everybody else knows that he's going to be starting. So I mean, it's kind of hard to get off the Curry train right now. I told you I wanted to keep riding, and I'm expecting huge things from him. But we also have to see that this is kind of set up for a narrative game for D'Angelo Russell. I know it's just preseason, but he's going back to LA, the team that kind of gave up to him and shipped him off to Brooklyn in the first place. And I'm expecting a decent shooting game has to fall one of these times for him. I mean, he's going to be a major part of the offense. He's got to be second in the team in shot attempts, and they want to get him going, and they want to get his confidence going heading into the regular season. So I will have some interest in Curry, Russell, and Chris. Draymond is always just in play as well, and he's got a fair price tag. So those 4 guys for me, and that's really about it. Jordan Poole, if you wanted to be a GPP flyer, but I don't know if we need to get that cute on a 6-game slate.
Yeah, that's a lot of Warriors. So you got the Warriors loading up pretty much, huh?
No. Well, that's what I mean. Not necessarily stacking, but if you wanted to play any combination of 2, even 3 of those guys, I wouldn't mind it. I expect decent run out of these guys, given that it's a game against LA and it's in LA. It's just kind of one of those, prime time, even if it's just preseason. So I wouldn't doubt if we saw 25 minutes from most of their starters, and if that's the case, having 3 of those Warriors at 25 minutes can prove to be valuable. But I would say 2 is where I feel comfortable, whether it's Curry and Draymond, Russell and Draymond. I wouldn't necessarily pair Draymond and Chris because I think they eat into each other's value. So 1 big and 1 guard seems like the way to go.
How about this bizarre fact? And I looked it up twice because it made no sense to me. They play each other tomorrow, and then they play each other on Wednesday, and then they play each other on Friday. They play the last 3 preseason games for those 2 teams are against each other. 2 in LA and 1 in Golden State. Does that make any sense?
That's actually a great thing to bring up because that kind of just takes the wind out of my sails when I was like, oh, well, they're playing LA.
That's what I mean. That's why I brought it up.
I'm glad you did.
Why?
And we're also talking about a team going against LA where they just saw Anthony Davis get hurt right in front of their face during a preseason game. So it wouldn't shock me if we see them be a little wary on any of their starters, and in turn, the Warriors might feel the same if they're just they're not going to run out Steph Curry going against the backups too much. If they don't need to.
It's
a little
odd.
tricky.
It's an odd scheduling scenario. There must be a reason for it. That doesn't make sense to me. But for me, I mentioned in the very first game, D'Angelo Russell looked really nervous and very, like a rookie, just being, I think, in that new stage. Definitely some good progression in the second game. You could see some things falling a little bit more comfort level. I like the fact that he's progressing to this and in an up-tempo game with the Lakers. So I'm gonna plug in some D'Angelo Russell. I think that he's a nice, pretty safe play to play in the 20s and get it done. After that, again, I really think that Kerr's going to use these final 3 games against the Lakers to rotate a lot of guys. I mean, he knows pretty much now what he's got and what his rotation is going to be. I know everybody's flavor of the month. Everybody's going to be in love with Marquise Chris. Just like, the other day I faded. Everybody was in love. Who was the guy that I
Cam Johnson? Was that night? He went off the next one, but I think it was Cam Johnson.
Right, and he had like 2 that game, and then he did real well the next game. But, I just think that Chris is still going to split time with Spellman, and, if they go small at all, Green will be there. So I'm going to steer from our super, super high-owned Marquise Chris, although he's looked great. Yeah. I know Curry – I stuck 40 in my eye when I faded him the other day watching that whole game, but it just doesn't make sense to me that he's going to push that hard and for that many minutes. There's no way in hell he gets that much of a run to put up a game like that again. I just don't believe it. So I'm going to go Russell, and that's really going to be about it for me for Golden State.
All right. I can't knock you there. Like I said, I have some interest on Golden State's side. I just think with the tempo that some of these guys are going to have to score at the end of the day. And I just feel confident going with, any combination of 2 of them. I think are going to be in most of my lineups.
Not bad. All right. Lakers last team. Obviously AD's out. Dudley's still supposedly out. Kuzma's still out as well. And Troy Daniels, the sharpshooter, is out. And Talen Horton-Tucker, the young guy. So they have a boatload of injuries for this early in preseason. That does not bode well. Who do you like for the Lakers?
I mean, obviously, LeBron James is playing. He's a guy that we always have to look at. I'm a little weary on their side of the ball, like I said, after Davis got hurt. But I think what that really opens up is going to be room for the point guards. It's not going to be as much point LeBron, I think, with Davis off the floor. I think we're going to need to see, especially with Kuzma out, we're going to have to see a little bit of LeBron playing power forward now. And if that's the case, we're going to see a little bit of Caruso and Rondo playing point guard alongside of him. So I think that's where we're going to get our edge in this game, is playing, one of those two guys. I'd probably lean more towards Caruso just because he's actually good at basketball. Rondo's really not. But Rondo can always just rack up those stupid assists and rebounds and those counting stats randomly. But I would say Caruso is probably my favorite play on that side of the ball. JaVale McGee as well. Those two guys are the ones that I think most of my confidence is going to go into.
Are you going to take JaVale McGee every single game now just because of that last year's debacle of when you cost me 5 figures?
Well, I think I have to at this point. I think I'm blood in or blood out.
I have not seen you fade him yet, dude.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, I just love – he's a limited minutes kind of guy. So when we played JaVale McGee during the regular season, we're never expecting more than 24 minutes, and we know what kind of stats he could put up. Well, we're talking about preseason where best case scenario of some players, they're getting 24 minutes. So when you're just talking about a point per minute producer with the way he could get blocks and steals, and he just runs the floor very quickly, he's going to be a high energy kind of guy, and that's kind of what a preseason guy is all about. So he just checks a lot of boxes for me when it comes to what I look for.
He does. I'm actually going to use JaVale again tomorrow as well, unless you're going to call me and talk me out of him. But anyway, JaVale will be in some of my lineups, and I have 100% lock and load guy in all my lineups. I'll give you a guess at who it is.
I'm going to go with it has to be LeBron.
It is LeBron. He played like 12 minutes or something ridiculous. And when Davis got hurt, he pretty much didn't go back in. I think he gets a run against Golden State. I mean, he's healthy. He's fine. They traveled back. I think he gets a good 24 minutes, something like that. And obviously he can smash in those times. So I'm lock and load LeBron tomorrow on Bron Day tomorrow for me with a little JaVale McGee sprinkled in, brother.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not going to never knock a LeBron call. He's a guy, he produces just across the board. Probably be very high owned, and I'll probably have a good amount of shares of him as well. Fantastic.
Well, I like the pace today. I think we're doing much better popping these games through, getting our points across, and we're also, it's like preseason, for us from the podcast side, we're getting all ready so that when we have these large slates, we can do them and give them justice and not be on here, for a crazy amount of time. So awesome, man. You are terrific. It's great to have you back from being off yesterday. Tomorrow night, is my Han Solo coach all by himself night, which will be fine because there's only 3 games on the slate, so that won't be bad. And then you and I will be back at it for another big 6-game slate Tuesday night for the Wednesday's action. So any final words on your side, Mr. Apotria?
I would just say proceed with caution at this point in preseason. Maybe scale back a little bit as far as how much your bankroll you're using. It just gets a little bit fishier once it gets a little later in the preseason. Some teams decide that they want to, like you said, do the starters and just play them 30 minutes. Other guys just completely rest, late scratch, all this kind of stuff. So it's a little bit easier when we have a little bit more of coach speak, I guess, at the beginning of the preseason, a little bit more of articles that are going to be hinting towards minute distribution. It gets a little bit foggier as you go further in.
It does. And, again, there's lots of money to be made in the preseason. We're kicking ass and taking names so far, and we want to finish up strong. But, it's always about, controlling that, managing that bankroll, be smart with, what you're playing. You want to build a nice little bankroll nest egg up for the beginning of the season a week from Tuesday, but you also don't want to go the opposite direction and dig a hole that you're chasing. So be smart, like Mike said. That's great advice. And we'll get it done for you. We're there. We're going to do it. All right. Well, terrific, man. I mean, thanks again to our sponsor, Fantasy Draft, and for Hoop Ball, and our man Dan Vespers behind the curtain, pushing all the buttons for us. We've got another good show under our belt. So, thank you for joining us for another episode of Hoop Ball NBA DFS today. For my man Mike Apotria, I'm Coach. We will catch you again tomorrow for another day where we're looking to crush it in DFS.
Yeah. Good luck, guys.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.